So here we are, back at Alan Jeffries again. I'm here to review this. It's the BMW F900XR. See you after the intro. So by the power of YouTube, we're now in a different location, but the reason for doing that is because Alan Jeffries were quite busy today. It was a delivery day of theirs, and they were getting a lot of new bikes in off the truck, loaded with crates, and I just didn't want to get in the way. Right, let's give it a fire up, and let's talk to you about it. Okay, so keyless ignition. Got the key in my pocket. The lovely BMW TFT screen. For my money, probably one of the best in the business, and a lot of people agree. Let's get our little mirrors sorted out. Typical BMW switchgear, nice in black, easily laid out. If you're a BMW rider or if you're familiar with BMW, nothing's changed here. Brake lever, clutch lever, both fully adjustable. Mode button, heated grips, cruise control, adaptive headlights, I think that is, hazard warning lights, your menu button for your TFT or your sat nav, your dynamic ESA adjustment, indicators, horn, and then there's a little button at the back for your main beam, and of course the obligatory spinny whiz wheel kind of thing. Let's fire her up for the first time so that you can hear it. Nice and throaty, we like that. Right, side stand, easy enough. Shall we go? Let's go. So, my very first impression of this, well, instantly I can tell you it's not a very tall bike. So, oh, hello sheep. Hello. That was lovely to see. Right, so seat height, it's 32.5 inches, I believe. Well, 825 millimeters. Now I'm 5'8" with a 32-inch inside leg, and I can quite happily get the balls of my feet on the floor. And because it's not or it doesn't feel a heavy bike, there's no sort of drama there. You know, I'm not literally on my tiptoes. I am on the balls of my feet. The riding position, it's very sort of neutral. It's almost like riding a naked bike, I guess. You kind of sat up nicely. Your knees, the angle of your knees is, it's a little tucked. The handlebars, well, they're kind of a nice, again, everything about this bike seems to be neutral, and I've only just started. Very sort of familiar to the GS, again. They're nice and wide. They're giving me a nice relaxed riding position. There's no weight on my wrists, anything like that. It feels quite comfortable. Looking at the mirrors, good visibility. From a seating point of view, feels a little firm. Well, I'd say more than a little firm, actually. Handling wise, oh, it's nice and flickable. Yeah, I like that. It's it doesn't feel heavy. You don't feel like you need to manhandle it. Yeah, it's smooth. It's very planted. That suspension seems to be quite forgiving. It's not wallowy. It's not firm either. It's just kind of a nice setup. You know, these aren't the smoothest of roads. They're not badly pot marked or anything like that. But yeah, it's handling it quite well. Your riding modes. Now you've got rain, road, dynamic, and I think there's a dynamic pro on this one. Various configurations that limit your power, your traction control, your ABS, etc, 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 and also wheelie control as well. I'm just going to leave it in dynamic. I know it's been raining, but I don't have a problem with the dynamic. I'm a bit old school like that. Most of the bikes that I've ridden over the years, mainly the most advanced bit of technology they've had is ABS. So I rely a little bit on my right wrist. That kind of counts as my traction control. Having said that, it is nice to know it's all working away in the background. And there's one thing that I do know is that BMW's electronics, particularly in the safety department, they are, in my humble opinion, second to none. The quick shifter, that's a nice bit of kit. Let's go up, and up again. Smooth as you like. Now I've heard some reports that you've kind of got to put it under quite a bit of load to get the best out of it, otherwise it becomes quite notchy and quite jerky. On this first ride impression, no, that's not the case. Now with it being a twin, obviously one of the first things that would come to mind is it vibrating? Is it a vibrating engine? I can't feel anything that's kind of worth pointing out. Yeah, I'm kind of tootling along 30 miles an hour now. What are we, about 3,000 revs? Nothing there. A little overtake, little cheeky one. Up through the revs, 5,000, 6,000. Yeah, a tiny bit through the handlebars. Tiny bit. Maybe if you were sort of doing long distances at certain revs, there might be some vibrations there, but as I'm not going to get a chance to do that today, I'm not going to be able to tell you. Having said that, now Graham had the S900XR a couple of years ago, and he had some major problems with the vibrations coming through the handlebars, to the point where he did actually get rid of the bike. And I rode the bike, and yeah, it really was bad. It really was bad. And we do a lot of touring together, and we covered thousands and thousands of miles, so he tried every single which way he could to try and cure that problem, but all to no avail. And the long and the short of it is he got rid of the bike. So in a way I was kind of coming at this bike wondering if that was going to be an issue, but no, it doesn't seem to be the case, which is a good thing. Yeah, the brakes are nice, the front brake's nice. Let's try the back brake. Nothing behind me. Wow. This is a relatively new bike. It's a 21 plate and it's got less than 500 miles on the clock, so for the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to say perhaps the rear brake's not been bed in yet, but that's it ain't good. It's got some good mid-range grunt for a bike like, yeah, that's nice. Nice braking. All of a sudden, yeah, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. All of a sudden, you hit a twisty section, bang. That's where the bike comes into its own. That's made me smile. That's made me smile. Riding it around town, it's very docile, very compliant, very... what's the word? Beige. All of a sudden, you get it onto some little twisty roads, and that beige turns into a bit of a rainbow. What's interesting about this bike is that if you look on BMW's website, they've actually classed it as an adventure bike. It's in the same bracket as the big GS's, the baby GS's. I'm not sure whether they've actually misplaced it, because it's, to me, it's more of a sports tourer with the emphasis on the sport. I get the feeling that you could go to, let's say Scotland, for example, from anywhere in the UK, have a real good ride, whether it's a, you know, half an hour across the border, or if you live in Cornwall, you could ride up there, and then once you get up there, you could go and have a play. I think you could go and have a bit of playtime with this. But I think if you wanted to go further afield, and I'm talking like you know, a 2-week, let's call it a couple of 1,000 miles trip, it might need a little bit of fettling, shall we say? Not in a very expensive way. You know, I think probably what it would need is just something to change the seating. That, for me, is the only downside. I'm finding it quite uncomfortable, just on the sort of pressure points where my where the hip bone is connected to the thigh bone. The thigh bone's connected to the hip bone. Oh, I swear to God, I need therapy. And that's why I ride a bike. I get my therapy that way. Okay, so let's have a look at wind protection then. Seeing as we're getting lashed on. We're nearly in summer. We're not there yet, but we nearly are. It's not bad. You've got quite a large frontal area around the tank. Not because of the tank, but you know, small amounts of fairing. They seem to do the job of taking most of the air, the wind, part of the rain off the front of my knees. The handguards seem to do their job of keeping my hands dry. And the windshield, well, it's more of a token gesture, but it helps. It's not going to keep you bone dry in a downpour, but you know, it's better than a naked bike. Cruise control is fantastic. All bikes in this sort of category, again in my humble opinion, should have cruise control. It works. Okay, so here she is then, the BMW F900XR. And what a fantastic looking machine I think she is. Beautiful, beautiful colour, which I think this is part of the sports package, is the red. So let's break it down for you, and let's go through the specs and see what you've got. Well, we'll start at the front. You've got LED lights all around. You've got the daylight running lights, which are here, and then the headlights, which, if they're anything to go by in the daylight, I'm sure they're a piercing light at night time. LED indicators, 43mm upside down forks, which aren't adjustable, but nevertheless they don't need to be, because they do a pretty damn good job of sorting things out. Brake wise, you've got Brembo 4-pot calipers. Really interesting to see that they've gone back to Brembo BMW. I was informed by one of our viewers actually on the channel that Hayes calipers, they've been recalled because they've had a problem with leaking, so BMW have decided in their wisdom to go back to Brembo. I think that's a smart move. 320mm discs, twin discs at the front, obviously for the stopping power. Parallel twin, 895cc, putting out around about 105 bhp. It's been given the kit and the provisions to go touring, so we know that there are some dedicated luggage systems that can go onto the back of those. Round to the back end of the bike, LED lights again. I would say don't go for a tail tidy on this, because this is going to kick up a lot of stuff, a lot of crud, and it's going to go everywhere, so chances are you'd get covered in it as well. Just one thing to consider. Down here we've got the quick shifter with the blipper up and down. Fantastic. I really do think that works well. Suspension, before we get drenched. Dynamic ESA on this particular model. The windscreen is two positions, down and up. It's as simple as that. On a lever, you can do it on the fly. My experience has taught me that up is probably best for speeds of sort of 60 mile an hour and over. Other than that, just leave it down. Heated grips, 3 stages on this particular model. The sat-nav, this being the top model, comes with sat-nav preparation, not the sat-nav itself. Menu button for controlling everything on the TFT screen. I won't bother going into the TFT, everybody knows about them. They're phenomenal, probably one of the best in the business. There's your adjustment for your dynamic ESA. Cruise control, great. You know, I think all bikes should have cruise control. You know, certainly bikes of this nature. Keyless ignition, like we say, which means you can operate the petrol tank. As long as the ignition's off, you can open that up without getting the key out of your pocket. And that is pretty much it. I think I'll jump back on it. Let's have another ride. Okay, bye. So who's this bike aimed at then? And perhaps more importantly, what's it aimed at? Well, my guess would be people that are looking for an everyday bike, a bit of a jack of all trades kind of bike, who've got a bit of money to spend, who have quite high expectations. Its direct competitor, of course, is the Yamaha Tracer. Now, I've not ridden that, so I can't make any comparisons, but it's safe to say though that they're very, very close in what their capabilities are, what their price is, what the power output is, etc, etc. I think it's a bit of a Swiss Army knife, this one. I really do. Well, that quick shifter works a treat. Up and down like a bride's nightie. It's got a nice sound to it as well. It's I've got a again, it seems to be another winner for BMW. So on that test ride, and we've covered some miles. What have we averaged? 58.8 to the gallon. Not bad, that, is it? I like what BMW are doing at the moment. They seem to be creating some really good bikes, some really good technology, but the one big thing that they're also doing is backing up their product with the warranty. And as it stands now, every new bike from BMW comes with a 3-year warranty. Would I buy one? I don't know whether it's an ego thing, but I think there's still that thing of you've got to have 1000cc. You know, 900 is okay, but it's just not 1000, is it? You don't need it. I think that's the honest truth. You don't need it. This bike is more fun. You've got more usable power more of the time. And again, oh, I'm so going to get told off. This is the second time back to back I've taken a bike out and I'm going to be late back. They're going to shoot me. I think if BMW hadn't have put much effort into this, they could have quite easily made a bit of a bland bike. You know, a bike that would probably be easily forgotten. But somehow, with the mixture of a bit of a fruity engine that sounds quite peachy, and it's got a bit of get up and go about it, and somehow with the looks, and somehow with the suspension, all these little things that seem insignificant, when you put them all together, you get something, you get something that puts a smile on your face. Is this one of the best middleweight adventure bikes on the market? You know what? If it isn't, it's pretty close. So now that we're coming to the end of the ride, I just want to say another massive thank you to Alan Jeffries at Shipley, to Simon and the guys down there and the girls down there. Thanks for supplying us with the bike. It's been an absolute pleasure to ride. If you're in the market for a BMW, whether it's new or used, give them a call. Pop down to the showroom, have a mooch around. There's no pressure there. It's nothing more than a place to go and hang out, have a chat, have a cup of coffee, show your interest, and if they can help you, they will. And tell them we sent you. You might even get a biscuit. If you are new to the channel and this is the first time that you've seen one of our videos, thanks very much for taking the time out to do that. We appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this, consider subscribing. We'd love to have you along on board. What we're trying to do now is create an environment where people can watch videos, have a little bit of entertainment, perhaps learn something. Over time, we've had some questions that we've been able to answer, but we've also had questions that some of our other viewers have been able to answer. So in essence, we're building up a community. We like that. And if you want to be part of that community, come along and join us. Hit the like button, subscribe, share it with people who you think might be interested, and we can spread this around.